There's a house called Cedar Hill that I think is incredibly important to visit and support right now, because I know, as a student of history, how important it is to engage in the honest study of what one group of human beings is capable of doing to another group of human beings, so that we can stop the repeat of the same inhumane treatment from being justified again. Hey y'all, I'm Raymond, and I share my own photos and videos from my real travels in hopes of inspiring you to go see and do for yourself. Let's talk about respectfully visiting the home and national site at Cedar Hill and truly hearing the words and lived experiences of Frederick Douglass. Ask questions in the comments. Much like when I've covered other accomplished, outspoken, prominent fighters against injustice in American history, like Dr. McCleod Bethune, there is no way my short little video could do justice to Douglass's work and life. What I offer here are simply summary paragraphs of a life that deserves volumes. And hopefully it's all to inspire you to learn more about Frederick Douglass and even go visit this site. I'll tell you why that's important. All the photos you're about to see are from my visit in May 2025. Born into slavery in 1818, around 6 years old, he was taken from his grandmother's cabin in Tuckahoe by a new master. Never knowing his actual birth date, there was a date that he never forgot. September 3rd, 1838. Around age 20, on a Monday, he escaped. He said of that day, "I lived more in one day than a year of my slave life." In 1839, he gives what he describes as a trembled speech at an abolitionist convention, which is hard to imagine given the orator he became. Describing his presence as a speaker, Charles Chestnut says, Douglass was more than 6 feet in height, and his voice rivaled Webster's in its richness and depth. Audiences never forgot his burning words, his pathos, nor the rich play of his humor. In his 20s, now escaped, he helped others through the Underground Railroad. In 1845, he published his first book, an honest narrative that made friends fear for his safety. He spent time in England. December 1846, 8 years and 3 months after escaping, his freedom was ransomed for £150 thanks to a GoFundMe of its time accomplished by Ellen Richardson and her sister-in-law. A year later, he set up in Rochester, New York, and began publishing the North Star to advocate for the oppressed. He referred to this time and the endeavor as his best schooling, because it, quote, obliged me to think and read. It taught me to express my thoughts clearly. I can think of no better summary of a good education. He once said, "I would unite with anybody to do right, and with nobody to do wrong." So, for example, in 1848, he joined the women's rights movement. He spoke, he wrote. In my opinion, it was moving, always. One of my favorite examples at the museum was, though I am more closely connected and identified with one class of outrage, oppressed and enslaved people, I cannot allow myself to be insensible to the wrongs and sufferings of any part of the great family of man. I am not an American slave, but a man, and as such, am bound to use my powers for the welfare of the whole human brotherhood. After the 1863 Emancipation Proclamation, he joined the Union cause and wrote about how intertwined the war effort was with the anti-slavery movement. His words persuaded many to enlist in the 54th and 55th Regiments, the first colored regiments. He had to have papers, documentation, to travel as a free man to recruit others for the cause of freedom. He had the ear of President Lincoln, and on display at the museum is the president's cane, gifted to Douglass by Mrs. Lincoln. In 1862, he left Rochester, New York, but his work there was so significant that a sculpture of him, a man with no formal education, was placed at the university. In 1877, President Hayes appointed him U.S. Marshal of D.C., and soon after, he purchased what would become known as Cedar Hill. On February 20th, 1895, around 77 years of age, he passed away, leaving a legacy of service to the humanity of all people that deserves lasting memory. The home was left as a memorial by his second wife when she passed in 1903. And even though it had guardian angels, Congress appropriated funds after it fell into disrepair. In 1972, it opened to the public under the stewardship of the National Park Service. Known as the Sage of Anacostia, Douglas's site is in the beautiful historic Anacostia neighborhood, including what is now the Anacostia Waterfront Park. More on those in other videos. After parking in the parking lot that would be over here, I recommend visiting the Visitor Center first, which is situated at the base of the hill with the home located above. For those wondering, accessibility information is on the website and or at the Visitor Center when you arrive. Here, you'll also check in for tours and take in the museum. If time or sold-out tours are an issue, I recommend a self-guided tour of the property and structures like his growlery. Growlery being a term coined by Charles Dickens, literally meaning a place to growl in. We might need to bring these back. For me, visiting here just added to the impact of the voice that so strongly comes through in his writing. I hope you'll go too. There are too many lessons over his lifetime that should be at the forefront of our memories and minds right now. If you like what I do here at Raymond's Ware, please support, follow, like, and share.